Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of HCS Insights. I'm JD Hardin, your host and the Executive Director of Communications and Public Relations for Henry County Schools. We're so glad you could join us on this very first episode of a new feature where we hope to provide you with insights into all things taking place across the school district. The items that we cover through this routine series could be things like, actions at your schools, actions here at the district office, and actions that our Board of Education takes, that pertain to all the, processes and policies and actions and ongoing work that, is happening all across our school district. Now, our very first episode does feature our Board of Education and the work that they took on this past Monday, August 24th, during their special called meeting. Now, that meeting had one component that some of you may have seen. Hopefully, you were able to tune in. And if you weren't, there's an opportunity for you to go back and watch the whole thing in its entirety. All you have to do is go to our website, www.henry.k12.ga.us. Click on the Board of Education tab, follow down to board meetings, and then you'll see the on-demand feature. And there you can watch the August 24th special called meeting or any other board meeting over the past couple of years that you'd want to catch back up on. But we're going to focus on August 24th. And in that meeting, there was a little bit of information that some of you may have seen or some of you may not have seen, unfortunately, because you had prior obligations. But they began to talk about some of the action steps to getting our students back in school. Now, I know that's music to a lot of people's ears. And, quite frankly, it's music to our ears too, because we know that the best learning takes place inside the classroom, but we also know that our first obligation is to the health and safety of our students and our staff. But the numbers in Henry County as it pertains to new COVID cases are starting to decline. And that's great news, And that's what we need to see continuing to happen in order to be able to bring students back. Now, what I'd like to do is share with you my screen so I can get to a couple of information that illustrates that. So let me navigate there first and we'll get going. So one of the things you're going to see is that, this first screen right here are the requirements for us to be able to return to campus. Now, again, one of the first things is that the Henry County COVID-19 cases have to level off or decline. And I'll show you some numbers here in just one second from a presentation that Superintendent Davis had with the board. But I'll also show you how to get to your to be able to see these same exact numbers at any point in time through your own navigation of our website. But that's the first thing that we have to fix, or we have to make sure happens. Henry County COVID-19 cases level off or decline, and we're starting to meet that requirement first. Now, the second requirement is rigorous preparation. Now, before we decided that we had to, pause the beginning of the school year and delay it until, the date of August 17th and push everybody remote, there was a lot of preparation that was going into getting our school ready to welcome students back. Those that chose, their families chose to want to come back. We haven't stopped those preparations. They're still ongoing, and we're fine-tuning and preparing because we knew that the day was going to come, and it's looking like it's going to come sooner rather than later to welcome students back. Again, the families that wanted their students to be back. Now, the third thing that kind of gives us, an opportunity right now during this requirement to return to campus is the opportunity to study other districts that have already opened. Now, hear me out. It's not always best to be first, because there's a lot to be learned from those who try things first. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity, again, to learn, to understand. And that's what we've been doing. We've been reaching out to our counterparts and seeing how things have gone for them. And they've been completely honest. There's been some things that have been great. There's been some things that haven't been so great. And we're learning from both of those examples and trying to make our opportunity to open back up even better. So an important process in the requirement to, return to campus. And then the last part, very, very important is the involvement of all of our employee groups. Our employees here in Henry County Schools are on the front lines of, teaching and, making sure your kids are safe. And we have to make sure that we talk to them and, hear their thoughts and insights, and we can mesh these together with, our efforts to bring kids back to campus safely. And so it's very important that we involve those groups. So what I'd like to do is get back out of that for a second, and I'd like to share with you, the part of the presentation that Superintendent Davis had with the Board of Education about some of the numbers. So
yes, Mr. Chair, I was glad to hear Mrs. Pope mention the health tracker, and I believe our team has been able to actually populate it so I can show you how we are trending So if you actually hover over the new cases since last week, I'm sorry, could you stay on new cases since last week? That would be great. Okay, so that top bar is actually that week of July 17th. And that was the week that this board convened and said this spike is disconcerting and possibly indicating not a good time to open our school campuses. That was a heavy day for us because we had really been 100 miles an hour preparing for on-campus learning. But then notice in each week that's followed, we are starting to see the movement in the right direction. And that is incredibly encouraging. And I'm thankful to just give you a glimpse as to how we're staying informed by what leveling off of our new COVID cases could look like. And then you could also hover over the 14-day new case rate, which is obviously going to give you a very similar model, but this is per your 100,000 people, but still heading in the right direction.
These numbers are really encouraging to see that, of course, and not encouraging was the big spike that we experienced. It forced us to have to delay the start of school and move everybody to a remote environment. But since then, the numbers have been declining, and that's the positive trend that we need to see. The new numbers are the new cases of COVID-19. Now, how can you see these numbers? You can go to our website, and there's a big scrolling header at the top of the page that gives you a link to this very exact information. We want to be transparent with you. These are the numbers that help us make these decisions, and it's a really neat interactive dashboard that gives you our total number of cases in the county, which is always going to go up. But the numbers that we're really focusing on are the 14-day new case rate and the new cases since last week, and then also the percentage of the population. Right now, we're at 0.14% of our population constitutes the new cases in Henry County, a very small number, but still, we want to make sure that these numbers continue to get smaller and smaller, and you can see these as they're populated each week, and these are the numbers that really help drive our decisions. So hopefully you guys can find those, and they'll always be on our front page. And if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to our district office, and we'll be able to share that information with you. So now, what does all this mean? Of course, the discussion's about bringing kids back. And that's, again, a hybrid model where there's going to be some families who want to bring kids back, have their kids come back to on-campus instruction. There's going to be some that don't, that want to keep in this remote environment. And both choices are fine. There is not a bad choice. It's about the right fit for your family. And so what we'd like to show now is, some of the, the staggered return and how it would unfold for us, if we were to, again, start bringing kids back. Our staggered and gradual transition phases, there are 4 of them. And the first one is the allowing of our remaining school-based employees to return, and all families would then, during this time period, confirm their preferred learning option. Again, do you want to come back, or do you want to stay at home and learn remotely? Now, our employees would be able to consult with our HR officials regarding any specific employee work restrictions. So that's very, very important for us in that process as well. Now, the second phase is where we really start to bring those kids back. And it's during a student orientation done alphabetically over a 2-day period, where it's kind of like a Monday, Tuesday, take a break on Wednesday, and then a Thursday, Friday scenario where our students would come back a couple of days and start an acclimation process to the new protocols, new processes, and on-campus learning responsibilities. This is going to be very important. School's not going to be the way it always has been before COVID. So there's going to be some new things that students have to go through and better familiarize themselves with. And this also goes for our teachers as well. Now, the third phase would be a student return enacted by, again, choice. Our students who want to come back, they'll be able to come back. Our elementary and middle school students would return on a Monday through Friday basis, while our high school, because there's a lot of nuances about high schools with transitions and hallways and things like that really have to be worked out in greater detail. But our students in elementary and middle would return Monday through Friday to begin with, and our high school students would remain on kind of a staggered Monday, Tuesday, break on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, by alphabetical, last name, that would be their staggered return. Now, our phase 4 would mean that all 4, or all 5 days would be populated by students at all levels that, again, have chosen to come back. And, those who are remote learners will stay remote, and that's okay. Again, It's the option of our parents. It's the comfort level for our families, our parents, our families, and students. And we want to make sure that we have those options there for them, to be able to, select the best learning option for them. Now, a lot of information. It's meant to provide just a little bit of a glimpse into, the thought process and some of the conversation that our board has been having. And it's been some really good discussions. Now, I would say that you want to stay tuned, because part of this conversation during the board meeting, the special called meeting, was about setting some dates for bringing kids back. They didn't set any dates yet. There was a desire to have further conversation about it. And I anticipate that conversation is going to be really soon. So stay tuned. We'll let you know when that happens. But we appreciate you tuning in for this very first ever episode of HCS Insights. It won't be the last. We hope to bring you this, cutting news, breaking news segment, so you can stay informed and on top of all the important information here in Henry County Schools. We greatly appreciate your time right now, and we hope to see you real soon. Have a great rest of your day.